Andrew Harvey is the founder-director of the Institute of Sacred Activism. According to Worcester Magazine, Harvey is probably the greatest living scholar and practitioner of mysticism. There are others more deeply steeped in individual traditions, but few, if any, have so extensively explored such a variety of mystic paths, not just as an academic observer, but also as a participant. Coleman Barks is a beloved teacher, poet, and we proudly mention a Chattanooga native.
Hooray!
Houston Smith, author of The World's Religion, said, "If Rumi is the most read poet in America today, Coleman Barks is in good part responsible. His ear for the truly divine madness in Rumi's poetry is truly remarkable." Please join me in welcoming Andrew Harvey and Coleman Barks.
I don't think any of us can quite imagine what this man has actually made possible. I once was in a depression in New York in February and thinking, God, nobody's getting anything, nobody cares about anything, the world's going to part, we're all going to commit suicide, nobody's even going to notice. One of those February mornings, and I looked up, and it was on the metro, and I saw 5 people reading Coleman translations of Rumi. And at that moment, I understood that because of what you have given us, you've made available the greatest single mystical poet the world has ever seen, at a moment when we desperately need his message of divine passion, divine truth, and all-embracing love. And it was because of Coleman that I did the work that I've done in Rumi. So this is Big Daddy.
I was able, with the help of a Sufi teacher, to get out of the way sometime and let whatever it is that comes through, come through. And we're hoping to get out of the way here, and have a conversation. Rumi says, he writes about probably 25 points about spring, more than that probably. But, and in each of them, he talks about, Philip, you okay? He talks about how one's mouth falls off. And how he talks about, in the spring, he says, he notices how conversation increases. I mean, people sit out in the yard and they talk to people that run by.
In the South, yes.
And, but
and they're not shooting them, yeah.
So his way of doing that is he gets the plants and the flowers talking with each other. The hyacinth talks to the wisteria, and the plane tree talks to the groves. And, they're all just in this, they just start gabbing, just talking. There's not a word.
Gabbing is a great word. I love gabbing.
Yeah, we're going to try to gab a little bit about spring. That whatever it is that comes this time of year to heal the world and to get us singing, falling in love, and writing poetry. And so, in the Sufi tradition, they say that there are 3 ways of approaching the divine. There's prayer, and then a step up from that is meditation, or the deep centering and emptying. And the step up from that is conversation. Isn't that great? So bad, yeah. But it's just like this. When
Hanging out with your buddy.
Out, yes, it is. And so
I'd love to tell them the story of the last time we hung out. Can I tell them that
please,
story?
yeah.
This was such a fortuitous and beautiful occasion because Coleman had been on some jag in England. I had been trying to raise the dead in England, which is a very unfortunate activity. And we met at 7 o'clock in the morning on a plane. Not knowing that we were on the same plane, I saw Coleman standing there. I went up to him, gave him a big hug. He said, "Don't speak to me, I'm in a trance." And he sat there, and I sat behind him and I sent him energy. And then afterwards we met at the luggage. And we had the most amazing conversation. But it was a conversation about friendship. And it was a conversation about the immense love between Rumi and Shams. And something very extraordinary happened to me. Coleman and I go back a long time and I love him very much. And I love the particular quality that he's brought to Rumi, which is this enormous, capacious, loving warmth that comes from him as a person. I have a different aspect of Rumi that I bring in, but that's the key to Rumi. And Coleman and I were waiting for our bags to come, and Coleman looked at me and he said, "You know what I've been doing? I've been translating Shams. I have found these amazing words in the Maqamat, the list of things that Shams left, a collection of different sayings." And he said, "There's one saying that totally blows my mind, and I know that it contains the secret to everything." And I said, "Okay, well, tell it to me." And this is about 9:30 in New York, with all the bags going around. So Coleman comes up very close to me, and he's very big and very imposing and very grand, and he looks straight into my eyes. And he says, "Shams says, if only all those pilgrims at the Kaaba going around that big black rock, instead of circling around that rock, had that rock fly up to heaven and could gaze into each other's eyes, that's when they would truly experience the living divine." And I was gazing into Coleman's eyes, and I was experiencing something, because I've read that passage many times, but being with him and my love in that strange, mad occasion made those words completely real. And I understood at a level I don't think I've ever understood in my life what you mean by friendship, and what you mean by, what the Sufis mean by friendship. And then something very beautiful happened which is that our bags came last, and they were touching each other. They were interlocked, so there was this marvelous laugh that we both had, and then I saw Coleman walking out to get his taxi. But I will always count that as one of the great moments actually of my life, because something happened to me in that conversation with you, in which I realized that what Rumi is really talking about, and what Shams is really talking about, is conversation, is friendship.
Absolutely, yeah. And Shams says in that quote he calls it his dangerous truth. He thinks, if I really told this truth, you would kill me. And he said, but it's come down. He didn't write it down or say it. It came down orally. But it was this: if you take the Kaaba and take it out, if you take all the religious paraphernalia, all the Christian cathedrals, all, take them out of the world, take the Bible, take the Eucharist, take the Torah, take all these, take the Quran, I'm going to get shot. the Quran, all the Buddhist statues, all the shamanic drawings, oh, I love those. But you got to give all that paraphernalia up, those things that remind you. And if you did all that, what you had left, says Shams, you would have left the ability of each human being to recognize the soul of the other human being in each other. But that is the source of the sacred. And that's enough, But we've got to have all the other stuff.
But not just the source of the sacred, it's the source of the real unity of humanity in the sacred.
Right.
If we were really gazing at each other with that kind of respect and honor and tenderness, we would see the living divine in and as each other, and war would cease and competition would cease, the desire to humiliate or exploit or dominate other people would cease. It is the real revelation, isn't it? It's not just that the divine is blazing in and as everything. It's living very particularly and with particular intensity in us and in our relationships with each other.
Why does Shams say it's so dangerous?
I think because once you discover that it is real, it shatters all your neurotic embrace of your limitations. It's dangerous because it challenges you to become a living flame of the fire. It challenges you to be authentic. It challenges you to be naked. It challenges you to live out your real divine consciousness, your real divine identity. You can't pretend just to be a neurotic small person anymore once you discover that this boiling volcano of divine presence is living in you and living in the fundamentalists in Arkansas, which I disagree with totally, but whom I see alive with the Spirit. That means we have to change our whole way of living and our whole way of being and doing everything and stop pretending that we don't have the power to change the terrible situation in the world that we're in. We have the power to create this madness. If we claim the divine within us and in each other, then we'll come to the realization that we have the power to change this madness, and that will mean that we'll have to undergo a great purgation, a great truthful transformation, and actually do something. Very dangerous.
So I think that is the personally dangerous part. It also is physically dangerous, I think, to take away people's toys, to all their religious things. Don't they go?
But it's dangerous because it's actually a revolution. I think those great teachers who came to say to humanity, you are divine. You can, with the help of the divine, transform everything and create the queendom on earth. They are the ones who usually got shot or crucified because people hate that radical good news. They want to be told that there are people who will secure their salvation, that if they do a few little practices, they'll get to a certain level. They don't want to be told, like Jesus and Shams told them, you're divine, live your divinity, claim it, don't hide, burn with passion and love and hunger for justice. Stop playing these disgracefully small, petty roles that you've chosen. They're irrelevant to who you really are. Somehow, the best of news is actually the most dangerous news, both to the people who give it and the people who have to receive it. And this happened to Rumi and Shams. My God, what they went through. One of the things that you and I have talked about so often is the actual love of those two men. And I'd love to get to that, but one of the things you may not know is how much this friendship cost them both. Rumi was the king of his world. He had all sorts of very decent disciples. He was 36. He was on a horse going across the square in Konya. And this wild old man came out of the shadows because he heard a voice saying, go to Konya.
He wasn't old.
You were old enough. Well, I'm 63. Shams is probably 60.